Good morning, students. In today's session, I will explain four more lab program that is there in your syllabus. In today's class, I will explain the program to illustrate the concept of function overloading, program to illustrate functions with default argument, program to illustrate inline function, and program to illustrate the difference between call by value and call by reference. The, the different concept like function overloading, default argument, inline function, call by value, and call by reference I already explained in my previous session. The first program is to illustrate function overloading. We already learned what is function overloading. A function overloading is a unique characteristics of C++ where in the same program you can use the same function for different purposes. In that case, you should call the function with different number of arguments, or you can use different data types for the argument. So the different format of in the same program, you can use the same function either with different number of arguments, or if the arguments are same, in that case, at least the data type of the argument must be different. So here I will use a function called fun for three different purposes. The first purpose is to calculate the square root of a number. The second case, I'm using the same function fun to find the sum of two numbers. And in the last case, I'll use the same function to calculate the biggest among three numbers. So the purpose is entirely different. But to calculate the square root of a number, one input and one output. So number of argument is one return type. To find the sum of two number, the number of argument is 2 and the return type is 1. And to calculate the biggest among three number, the number of argument is 3 and the return type is 1. So the first case, number of argument is 1, second case it is 2, and the third case it is 3. And the purpose of the function fun is different. So I have to mention the first three lines. Hash include iostream.h, hash include conio.h, hash include maths.h are the three header file. The purpose already I have studied in your previous examples. The first prototype says that float fun float. So the prototype states that the function name is fun, number of argument is 1, that is of float type, and the return type is float. The second prototype indicates that float fun float comma float means the function fun takes two arguments and returns a value of float type. In the last case, the same function fun accepts three arguments and returns a value of float. So in all these three cases, the function name remains as fun only, but the number of arguments are different. In the first format, it is 1. The second case, it is 2. And in the last case, it is 3. Next, void main. For the first one, input is 1 and 1 output. So A is the input and R1 is the output. So there A is the number you have to give as an input for the function fun, and R1 is the square root of that number. R1 stores the square root of that number. For the second format, the inputs are P and Q, and R2 is to store the sum of P and Q. In the last case, the inputs are arguments are X, Y, Z, and R3 is to store the biggest among the three number X, Y, Z. So C out, enter a number. You have to input a value. So C in A, you have to give a number, and the number you have inputted is stored in A. Now you call the function fun with the argument A, and the value returned by the function is stored in R1. So I will call the function first time with one argument, and the return value is stored in R1. Display the output. See out square root of the given number A equal to the value of R1. Next, you go for the second format. For the second format, you have to input two number. So enter two number C in P and Q. For the second format of the fun function, the arguments are P and Q, and the return type is R2. So call the function like R2 equal to fun of P comma Q. Then display the result. Sum of P value and Q value equal to the value of R2. In the last case, the arguments are X, Y, Z. So there you have to input three number X, Y, Z. So C in X, Y, Z, and call the function fun with the three argument X, Y, Z, and the return value is stored in R3. Display the result. Biggest among X, Y, Z equal to the value of R3. So hope you understood the function of fun in three different ways. In the first case, it is to calculate the square root of a number. Second case, it is calculate the sum of two numbers. In the last case, it is calculate the biggest among three numbers. Now we have to write the three different formats of the function called fun. Float, fun, float A. This is the first format. Number of argument is 1, that is A, and the return type is again float type. So return square root of A. Second format, the arguments are P and Q. So float and return type is float. Float 1, float P, comma, float Q. Return P plus Q. In the last case, the arguments are X, Y, Z, and the return type is again float type. So here I had to calculate the biggest among X, Y, Z. Means to start with, I don't know which is the biggest. So I declare an extra variable called big of float type. And initially, the variable big is stored the value of X only. So big equal to X. Then if the value of Y is greater than the big, the Y value is stored in big. If the value of Z is again greater than big, means the value of Z is stored in big. Now what happens is, at the end of your function, the variable big stores the biggest among X, Y, Z. You return that number, return the value of big. So let us consider how to give the input for this program. First case, enter a number, you have to input a number called 25. Then you call the function R1 equal to fun of A. So here A value is 25 and R1 value will be square root of 25, that's equal to 5. The second case, you have to enter two number 10 and 15. They are stored in P and Q respectively. Then you are calling the function R2 equal to fun of P comma Q. Then R2 value will be sum of 10 and 15, that's equal to 25. The third case, 10, 93 number you have to input and they are stored in X, Y, Z respectively. And you are calling the function R3 equal to fun of X comma Y comma Z. Here the biggest among 10, 19 and 8 is 19. That is stored in big. So biggest among three number is 19 here. Let us consider or let us take the second program to illustrate the concept of default argument. In C++, again, default argument is also one unique characteristics of C++, where it is possible to call the function with less number of argument than that is mentioned in the prototype. If any of the argument is missing, mean for the missing argument, it will take it from the default list. But the rules you have to follow by specifying the default arguments, etc., I explained clearly in the session on functions with default argument. So here as an example, I will write a program to calculate the simple interest. We know that in your high school you have studied how to calculate the simple interest. The formula to find the simple interest is PTR by 100. P is the principal, T is the time period, R is the rate of interest. So I write a function called simple, float equal to 1000, float equal to 5, float equal to 6.5, and return type is float. Means the function name is simple. It takes 3 arguments, and if the last argument is missing, then the last argument, the default value is 6.5. Last 2 are missing, means the default values are 5 and 6.5. And if all the 3 are missing, means the default values are 1000, 5, 6.5. That means the default value for the principal is 1000. The default value for T is 6.5, and the default value for R is 6.5. Float PTR, SI. PT and R are the input. SI is the output variable. So I enter the value for PTR, C in PTR. So you have to input the values for PTR. Now we are calling the function SI equal to simple of PTR. So here the prototype also says that the function has 3 arguments. While calling also, you are calling with 3 argument mean. In this case, your default value has no meaning. Okay. Next, display the result. See out simple interest without default argument, because in this case what happens is all the 3 arguments are present. In that case, simply display simple interest without default argument equal to the value of SI. Next, again you call the same function SI with like SI equal to simple of P comma T. Here what happens is P value, whatever value you input, that will take it. For T also, whatever value you have input, that will take. And since you are not giving the passing the value of R, means for R it will take the value of default value equal to 6.5. Then again display simple interest with the default value for R. Here only the third argument is missing. So again you display the value of SI. Next case, SI equal to simple of P. Here what happens is T and R both are missing. Then only for P, whatever value you have given as an input, that will be considered. Whereas for T and R, it will take the default value 5 and 6.5 respectively. And again, display the output. Simple interest with the default values for both T and R equal to the value of SI. And last case, you are calling the function SI equal to only simple. So here all the 3 arguments are missing. In this case, it will make use of the default value for P, that is equal to 1000. For T, equal to 5, and for or it will use the default value equal to 6.5. Because the third case, all the three arguments are missing. So simple interest with default value for P, T, R equal to the value of SI. Now, enter the value for PTR, input output. Suppose you have given P equal to 8,000, 10 and 5. So P equal to 8,000, T equal to 10 and R equal to 5. So here what happens is, in the first case, you are calling the function SI equal to simple PTR. So here it will calculate simple interest for 8,000, 10 and 5. It becomes 8,000 into 10 into 5 by 100. That is equal to 4,000. The second case, you are not giving the value for R. In that case, it will make use of P equal to 8,000, T equal to 10. For R, it will use the value of 6.5. The third case, so there the simple interest will be 5,200. The third case, you are calling the function with only one argument called P. For T and R, it gives the value 6.5 and R 5. And in that case, the formula will be 8,000 into 6.5 into 5 divided by 100. That becomes 2,600. In the last case, you are not passing any argument mean. It becomes 1,000 into 6.5 into 5 divided by 100. That becomes 325. The third program is to illustrate how to use inline functions in C++. Inline function concept is also a unique characteristics of C++ function. So only small function, you can make use of inline function. The main benefit of inline function is whenever you call a function, instead of the control leaving the calling function and going to called function, the statement of the called function will be copied into the calling function. So here I'm finding checking whether a given number is even or odd. It's a very simple example. I think I already explained the same program when I was explaining the program on inline function. So inline, int, even, int. So the prototype says that the function name is even. It takes only one argument of int type, and return type is also int. And the prefix inline says that you are making that function is made as inline, a comma b. Enter a number C in A. So b equal to even of A. So the input is A and the output is B. If the given number you inputted is even number, in that case b value equal to 1, because the function even returns 1, and the function given number is an odd number, then the function returns the value 0. So in that case b value equal to 0. So depending on whatever value the function even return, that will be received by b. So that function return only two values, either 1 or 0. 1 is return me, it's an even number. If 0 is return me, it's an odd number. So you check the value for b. If b equal to 1 means see out A is an even number, else see out A is an odd number. It's a very simple program. Input. Enter a number 21. 21 is an odd number. If the second time when you run the program, you are given the input of 18, it says 18 is an even number. The third program or the fourth program is on how to illustrate the difference between call by value and call by reference. Already I studied the concept of call by value and call by reference. In call by value, the actual arguments are also variable name, and the formal arguments are also equivalent variable name. Whereas in the case of call by reference, the actual parameters are the address of the variable, and the formal parameters are the corresponding pointers. So here the inputs are A and B. So I have to write two functions, swap1 and swap2. Swap1 to illustrate call by value, and swap2 to illustrate call by reference. For the swap1 function, the two arguments are integer type and there is no return type. For the swap2 function, since you are passing the address of the variable, the formal parameter must be pointer. So it is defined as int star comma int star. So the two formal arguments are pointer type. So enter two number C in A comma B, C and B, and display A value equal to A. Set W4 is to get the spacing between A and B, and you are displaying the value of B. Then call the function called swap1 with A and B. So first, after inputting the value for A and B, you display them first. Then you call a function called swap1. After calling the function, again display the value. Output of the call by value equal to, again display A equal to A, B equal to B. Then you call the function swap2. Already I told, in the case of call by reference, the actual parameters are the address of the two variables. Here the variables are A and B. Address of A is ampersand A. Address of B is ampersand B. Then the control goes to the swap2 function. Some changes takes place inside that function. After coming out of the function, again display the value. See out output of call by reference equal to, again A equal to the value of A, and value of b equal to value of the b value. So here I've written the two function swap1 and swap2, void swap1 int x comma int y. So a value is received by x and b value is received by y. Then int t, you declare an extra variable called t, then t equal to x, x equal to y, y equal to t. So inside the function, you are exchanging the values of x and y. On the moment you quit that function, x and y are destroyed. So what happens is any changes to x and y has no effect on a and b. So after coming out of the function, so if in the case of call by value, the value is not altered. The input is a 5 and 20, output is also 5 and 20 only. Next. So here the function name swap2 is missing. It should be void swap2 int star p comma int star q. The function name is missing. So it's a typographic mistake. Int t, okay. Star p means the value of a. Star q means the value of b. So t equal to star p equal to star q, and star q equal to t. In case of call by reference, what happens is, since you are accessing the variable through the address, any changes to formal argument has a direct effect on the actual parameter. So inside the function swap2, the values of p and q are star p and star q are exchanged. Actually, a and b are also exchanged. The output will be, in the case of call by reference, they were actually swapped. The input is 5 and 20 means when you call the functions through call by reference, it becomes 20 and 5. A value goes to b and b value goes to a. Whereas in the case of call by value, the value is not altered. So in today's class, I explained 4 different practical programs that is there in your syllabus list. One is on function overloading. The next one is on functions with default argument. The third one is on inline function. And the last one is on to illustrate the difference between call by value and call by reference. I want you to execute each of these programs independently in your own system at home, or if you have a mobile also. Nowadays some compilers are available for mobile also. You can download them and execute. Still, if you find any difficulty in getting the result, if you come across any errors or something, you can call me over that number, or you can post your doubts in the, you can send your mail also, or you can post your doubts in the comment section. So if anybody, if you are not getting the proper result, I will help you. Thank you. With this, I will conclude today's class. Thank you.